Significant decision. The Indian government has now decided that starting 1st October this year, the Aadhaar or the 12-digit unique identification number will be needed to establish the identity of deceased persons for the purpose of getting the death registration certificate issued. In a notification issued today, the Registrar General of India has said that the use of Aadhaar for applicants of death certificate will result in ensuring accuracy of the details provided by the relatives, dependents or acquaintances of the deceased. As well, the RGI has further said that this move will provide an effective method to prevent identity fraud. It will also help in recording the identity of the deceased person and will obviate the need for producing multiple documents to prove the identity of the deceased person. The RGI has further directed the concerned departments in the respective states and union territories responsible for registration of births and deaths to ensure compliance by concerned registration authorities and give a confirmation to this effect by the 1st of September. The new move will come into effect immediately for residents of all states except Jammu and Kashmir, Assam and Meghalaya, for which a date will be notified separately. The Registrar General has come up with this new provision in exercise of powers conferred under the Registration of Birth and Death Act of 1969. That's another decision that we're getting you details of. The Indian government has now decided that starting October this year, the Aadhaar or the 12-digit unique identification number will be mandatory to establish the identity of deceased persons for the purpose of getting the death registration certificate issued. It will be applicable in all states of India except the state of Jammu and Kashmir, Assam and Meghalaya, for which a separate date will be announced. But as far as the country is concerned, it will be applicable from as early as 1st of October this year. Remember, a case is going on in the Supreme Court as we speak, deciding on the right to privacy vis-a-vis the unique identification number, where the government is fighting a legal battle to make Aadhaar mandatory for use in various fields, such as make it mandatory for the passports and filing income tax as well. Let me get in WION's correspondent Raghavendra Rao. Raghavendra, what does this really mean? The government now making it mandatory, the Registrar General of India saying that an Aadhaar number is needed in case of registration of deaths for now.
Well, a very significant decision indeed, because, there have been cases where despite, a person having died, the family members, they manage to get a death certificate, but also, they keep on availing the pensions and other retirement benefits related to, the deceased. And it is with a view to tackle that kind of a situation, to weed out these ghost beneficiaries. The government now wants Aadhaar as a tool, as a medium wherein, they can get an Aadhaar number to establish the identity of the deceased person. That seems to be the reasoning behind the government deciding to make Aadhaar mandatory to get a death certificate. But yes, given the fact that Aadhaar is already mired in such a big controversy over privacy and other issues, several litigations are already on in various courts, including the Apex Court. I'm sure this move is further going to add fuel to the fire. Sana?
Absolutely. And Raghavendra, a quick perspective. You mentioned how this is going to be useful in various respects. But any negatives that you can point out at this point? Because I know it's just come out, but any negative points that one can see with this new, system being put into place?
Well, the only thing which immediately comes to mind is that there may be cases where, a deceased may not have an Aadhaar number. Now, Aadhaar is not a mandatory document as far as the government of India is concerned. It is a voluntary document. You can get an Aadhaar number in a bid to get this 12-digit unique identity number and avail various social service schemes and programs of the government. So it's a voluntary program, not a mandatory program. So still, despite a very high number of the Indian population having registered themselves for the Aadhaar program, there may be a lot of people who may still not have applied for an Aadhaar number. Now, in those cases, now even here we have a window of a couple of months. This only kicks in from October 1st. But There can be cases where a deceased may not have an Aadhaar number or an Aadhaar document. In those cases, the onus of establishing the identity of the deceased will lie on the person who is applying for a death certificate post a death. So it can lead to situations where, a family which is already in grief, following the death of a person, struggling to just prove the credentials or the identity of the deceased person just in order to get a death certificate. That could be a flip side.
Absolutely. Well, I'm sure there will be a lot of debate as far as this is concerned, because this seems as a move in that direction, to make it mandatory in a sense for all people to have it. Otherwise, they won't have a death certificate. Thanks so much, Raghavendra, for joining us with those details.